Now, in this video lecture, we'll be talking about the system calls. And before dealing about what is a system call, let us know what are the two modes of operation of a program. The program in execution can be operated in either user mode or in kernel mode. So, what is mean by kernel mode and what is mean by user mode? So if the program has access, direct access to the certain resources like memory, the CPU, all hardware, software resources, then those programs are referred to be operated in kernel mode. That's why the kernel mode is referred to as privileged mode. And if the program is operating the user mode, the meaning is the program does not have direct access to certain resources of the system. But the problem with the kernel mode is, even though the kernel mode is seems to be acting in a privileged mode, the problem with the kernel mode is that if the program crashes during its execution, the entire system will be halted, will enter into the halt state. Whereas if the program is executed in the user mode, if the program happens to be crashed, it does not affect the entire system. So the safer mode of operation is the user mode when compared to the kernel mode, even though the kernel mode is considered to be a privilege mode, it is considered to be a privilege mode since it has direct access to the certain resources of the system. Now, what is about this system call? So, as we all know that certain services are made available by the operating system. So, in order to access those resources, the system call will be acting as an interface to the user. So, system call provides an interface to the services that are made available by an operating system. Yes, so this is about the system call and about the different modes of operation of a program. Then moving on to the example of a system call, wherein which consider that we're going to copy the contents from the source file to the destination file. So let us see how the system call is being called and they have been executed. So in order to copy the contents from the from the source file to the destination file, obviously we should get the name of the input file and we should read the name of the output file. So for that, the first system call that has been executed is acquiring the input file name. So each and every rectangular boxes that has been given here represents a system call. So acquire an input file name. For that, you'll be writing prompt to the screen. Writing prompt to the screen itself is making a system call. Then accepting the input. Then acquiring the output file name, writing prompt to the screen for acquiring the output file name, then accepting the input. And moving on to the user mode and the kernel mode of operation here. So as I told you that the user mode of execution of a program is safer when compared to the kernel mode. But whenever the program has to be executed, obviously we all know that it can be executed only after accessing the certain resources of the system. But we are told that the user mode of operation cannot have direct access to the certain resources. Then how come the certain resources are made available to the programs that are executing in user mode? So in such a case, the user mode will be requesting for the resources uh, by uh, uh, by switching over from the user mode to the kernel mode. So this process of switching from the user mode to the kernel mode is being referred to as context switch. And similarly, from the kernel mode to the user mode, this also is being referred to as context switch, the vice versa. So the program that is being executed in the user mode, in order to access the resources, will be making a call that it has to access the resources of the system so that it will be switched to the kernel mode. So in such a case, when a user mode from the user mode to the kernel mode, there is a switch that happens. So this particular switch is being referred to as context switch, and the call that is made in order to access the resources, that particular call is being referred to as a system call. Hope you got it. Yes. So now moving moving about the example of the system call. copying the contents from the course file to the destination file. These are all some of the system calls that is being called in order to copy the contents from the source file to the destination file. So here, so they have given the sequence of system call that have been executed in order to copy the contents from the source file to the destination file. That is acquiring the input file name, writing prompt to the screen, accepting the input. Similarly, for the output file name, writing the prompt, getting the accepting the input. So once if the input file name and output file name has been acquired, then the job is to open the input file, and if the file doesn't exist, we have to abort the process, because there should be a file, whatever input file that have been accepted, that should be in uh, alive. Okay, that should exist. Otherwise, we should abort the process. So that's why we are just checking. The file doesn't exist, then abort the process. So if the file exists, then we have to create an output file. So if there exists a file name with a mentioned output file name, then we need to abort the process. So if there does not exist the output file name, then that particular file name which is given as the output file will be created, and will be looping through the input file by reading through the input file and writing to the output file. And this operation will be looped until the read operation is failed. So after which we will close the input file, and writing after copying the contents from the source file to the destination file. So we will be writing the completion message to the screen, and a normal termination of the program is being carried out. Then in this diagram, so when the user application is writing some application program, and if it encounters any system call like open off, so the user mode, from the user mode, it will be switched to the kernel mode. So that's what is being given in the diagram. Through the system call interface, the application program which is being executed in the user mode will be transferred to the kernel mode. And in the kernel mode of operation, the implementation of open system call will be executed. And at the end of return statement, again from the kernel mode, the program will be switched to the user mode. So this is about the system call. Thank you.